Welcome, everybody. We have an exciting interview today. I'm joined by Play, now Play for Baghdad, used to be Plays for England. Let's give him a big round of applause, everybody. Now, let me make sure I got your audio on, because I couldn't edit it. Okay, go ahead. Try to say something. Nope, that's not it. One more and about to get it. Oh, wait. We're there and then I lost you.
All right.
There we go. Now you're here.
Nice.
Welcome, Play. Well, I was ready to fire off the interview, and then I refused to be outdressed. So when you camped up, I had to run. I've been getting a little lazier. I've just been wearing collared shirts, but then you show up with the drippiest fit of all.
Honestly, I think I still outdress you, but we could move on.
It's debatable. Do you have a pocket watch?
Oh, I have a fidget spinner. I mean,
okay, that counts. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can tell by your thick Arabic accent, you're the leader of the Abbasid Caliphate.
Yes, my Aki.
Yeah.
A true Muslim leader.
I thought just for fun, we could just do the rest of the interview in Arabic. I think would that be more comfortable?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah.
You gotta respond with, isn't the response you should at least know how to say hello.
Oh, I've been telling these guys to teach me. They just don't care.
Look, just watch Kingdom of Heaven.
Oh yeah.
There's some basic, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. Assalamu alaikum, which is peace be upon you. And then I think they mirror it. I think they say alaikum al-malasa, something like that. Like the response, it's like a mirror. It's like
alaikum al-malasa.
Something like that. Something like that. It's nothing. It's probably nothing close to that, but we're trying.
I did send a little. I did Google Translate a little announcement of mine into my announcements when it was Eid to show the support.
Yeah.
For my yeah. Oh, yeah, I said Auf Shaka, as a enjoy the day. My dragons.
You're definitely getting cooed after this, just so you know. it's 100%. Once they find out that you don't speak fluent Arabic, the dragons are coming.
The old generation dragons, they don't need a reason to try and coo me. They'll do it regardless.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
They'll try.
So let's just get right into it. You're the leader of the Abbasid Caliphate. I didn't really recognize you because I remembered Play for England. So tell us a little bit about why you betrayed your home country.
So that actually was because my account got hacked. So one of my old friends of mine may have came along and was like, do you want to help me with this game I'm developing? And I was like, yeah, let me help you out, my good old friend. And I downloaded a link, and then my Discord account was stolen from me. And yeah, I then proceeded to lose £50 from this guy purchasing Discord server boosts. And yeah, it was probably one of my smartest decisions I've ever made.
I was gonna say he should have signed you up as a Monarch subscriber in Lionhearts Discord. That's what I'm gonna start running a scam pretty soon, and I'm gonna hack people's account just to subscribe them to the Monarch, and then they're gonna realize how good it is, and they're not gonna unsubscribe. That's the strat. So
I did that for a month. Go on.
No, so you were in the Kingdom of England for a while, right?
No, I was.
Now, am I wrong? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, you're wrong. Your sources are incorrect.
It's just my degenerated brain. It's not.
I've always been a true Abbassid. I don't.
You've always been an Abbassid. I think we need to fact check that. I don't know if that's true or not.
I'll go over the true play for England origins. It started with, I think I was in a clan, because I joined the game straight in Malta, and this guy was like, "Do you want to join the strongest clan in the game?"
Okay.
So I joined a clan with 4 people in it, and ran it down and fought against. I think it was I fought against HRE with the Teutons initially. Once the clan disbanded, I then joined Teutons, and so actually my first faction was Teutons initially.
Okay, and was this under Tarask's leadership or before that?
It was like he just got started, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, leading, and then I joined at that time. And to be fair, they got me pretty good at combat. I remember their trainings actually being really good. But yeah, after that I went to Ayubids and I met Dylan there. And then well, yeah. That was the start of a lot of things. Yeah.
So what did you learn under Tarask? Did you learn any leadership tactics or skills? He's a pretty well-known leader.
I was an LR. I learned how to fight, and yeah, that was it.
But did you learn anything just from watching him, watching the way he carried things out?
In Teutons, like the LRs, you actually don't, from my experience, you don't see the leader. When, like, there's so many people in Teutons,
right?
Like, you're kind of invisible. You're like a part of a horde almost.
Like a cog in the machine.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't really know any of the going-ons in the actual high comm stuff. You just
kind of reminds me of that old Zangid meme. Wake up, unit.
Yeah.
We're fighting Teutons. And that music is blasting. Yeah, that's kind of how you felt.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just like, oh my god, there's an RB. I need to get out of bed and go and fight.
My gosh. Well, it sounds like a pretty intense requirement. So you were in a clan for how long before joining Teutons?
It was like a whole like month or around a month or so. And I was just
what year was this?
2022.
Okay, so you started playing Lionhearts in 2022.
Mm.
Okay, what was your first impression playing? Why did you start playing the game? What got you into it? You sent a friend, maybe referred?
Oh, I watched Tankfish's video.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
I was like, this looks fucking. This looks amazing. I was like, the story, it looks great, and then I joined, and I was like, this is definitely not about the story. This is about geopolitics and combat. But it was still nice. Like,
so when you started playing, you played the story, and you're like, oh, this looks good, and then at 180, it became this complicated, like player-driven political mess.
Yeah.
So you probably would have kept playing for the story.
I was like, maybe like the story is like this really, like, it started off with like your parents dying and then you get sent off into the world.
You gotta say spoiler alert. I mean, come on here, man. Some people here haven't.
For all the people, all the new players that haven't done it, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. So you played through the main story, and then you got to Messina.
I got to Messina, and yeah. Actually, no, at the time that I started playing, I don't think the story was there. I think we hadn't had the story for a little bit because it may have been like needed some work on it. So there wasn't actually story when I first joined, but eventually the story was added back, and I did get to play for it.
Okay.
But when I first spawned in, because there was no story, I was just first person. I decided when I joined the first person I saw, I would probably join their group or whatever. So that's why I ended up joining a clan. But,
that's a pretty interesting first experience. I think that's an ultra minority of people who end up joining a clan first.
Yeah, I mean, you see like a lot of clan strategies being like. So before, I actually thought it was straight up impossible to like cap a base without like baiting all of the guards with one guy in a corner. I thought like killing all the guards, impossible task. You just gotta bait them. So,
Right.
because we always worked with like 3 people. But yeah.
Did you find the mechanics of the game overwhelming?
Well, when you're like an LR with like Arsenical Bronze, you'll think any sort of combat is like an impossible feat. It's like the memes where it's like my LR after fighting Tarask, or like after fighting like Dylan Pendragon of the Woods back. So it's just like come back in stitches.
Yeah, or there's a lot of like TK memes as well. It's ridiculous. Do you think the addition, I mean, I don't think Arena was really around when you joined.
Nah.
Do you think the addition of Arena has alleviated that for low ranks?
100%. Like whenever I get anybody new into the game, I just send them Arena to farm. You get silver, you can upgrade your weapons to at least cast iron, and then from there your faction will help you get steel. You don't have to fight players so much, so you don't get you just don't get wiped out as much.
Annihilated. I totally understand that, because on Mithandir account I have 3 alts because I'm a cheater and I break the rule. But on Mithandir I decided to switch to spear bow main just to try it, and I was arsenical and like the worst bow, and I went to a road battle and I think I went 2 and 20 or 2 and 30 or something. I did parry Cyber a couple times, which was really and then I forget who it was in Abbasids. It might have been Fop saying that we're gonna get a community artwork commemorating your parry against Cyber outside the walls of Jericho, and I'm like, I got arsenical. I'm like running around, and people are stream sniping me, so it's double. Like it's not just being a low rank. The people know where I am. They're hunting me down, and then I hop on my alt Protoss Supremacy, where I have a folded halberd, and I'm at least my KDR is at least like 1-to-1, and it's a little bit more manageable. But I think it is exhilarating getting those first kills in PvP, and just like, even if you come up on somebody and they have low health, just getting having that impact. Do you remember like a distinct first memory of your time playing the game?
I was thinking about that. I remember, I think it was versus KOE, I think, and it was when I was like, I just got into Steel, and we were basically like 3v6ing, and I think we managed to hold out against a singular push, because I managed to get a kill in the middle of that, and I do remember that. That felt quite good, and then afterwards they pushed again, and obviously we died, but yeah, it was cool.
You've got to be made of some special stuff to, I think, endure, especially pre-arena, that sort of grind. It must have been, I mean, what kind of mentality do you have to be willing to be actual fodder over and over and over again, barely getting any XP, ascending a crazy skill curve? I mean, what was that like? Was it just like, this game's awful, or?
I think it was just like, I just felt after I get to a certain point, like I won't have to deal with it anymore. So let's just get past this point. I think there was this one place in Malta where there was a bunch of guards. I think in the story mode, you actually start off by it's like a tutorial of how to cap bases. Yeah, before that, when that wasn't just a tutorial island and you could actually go there, I used to just sit there and grind NPCs, and you'd like get to kill like 20 or so NPCs every wave. It was just like doing that over and over and over again. It took me about a week to get to folded.
Why? Why would you ever do that? Why would you sit there for a week grinding bandits? What was keeping you coming back?
I think it's just like good. It was the clan leader that I had. I don't remember his name, and he was like kind of annoying after a bit of time. But I remember him like motivating me to try. So yeah, and I liked the game. Like, there's not that many games on Roblox I actually give a chance to these days, and especially back then, it was just like, if a game was like bad, I was just like, oh, I don't want to play it, and I just leave the whole of the platform behind. So giving games a chance is something that I was willing to do at the time. So that's why I put in the week of work that it took.
And after that point, did it seem a little bit easier to navigate?
Oh, once I got to Folded, it was just like I'm a demon. Like I can I can take on the world. Like,
so you join Teutonics. You're low rank for a bit. Why Abbasids?
So Abbasids.
Besides, of course, your Arabic accent and your fluent Arabic.
Yeah. After Ayyubids, okay, this is a Pendragon thing. So after Ayyubids, Dylan left the genre for a bit, and then came back about 3 months later, and was like, "Yo, Play, do you want to help me with this thing?" I was like, "You know what? Sure." So we all joined Pendragon clans and started attacking England stuff, and we just tried our best to hold Arsif and Arsif Pass, and that basically didn't work out. So we were like, let's join a faction, all of us. And the first one we joined was Abbasids, and Abbasids offered us a bunch of stuff. It was Dylan got second in command. I eventually got high com, and a bunch of us also got HR. And that is why I think that's pretty much why we joined Abbasids, is because we were able to gain these high roles in that faction, because at the time it was struggling.
So you saw a power vacuum.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think it's worth noting on that Lionhearts if you are opportunistic, it's actually smart to join struggling factions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had stayed in Teutons, it's likely that you just would have been a cog in the machine, and maybe you would have made high rank or something eventually, but the difficulty there much higher. Whereas if you go to a faction like Sicily, you can see a lot of room for growth. I'm kind of hoping somebody does that to Zangid soon, but you know, like getting somebody, oh, I really want to lead a faction. They even DM me sometimes. Well, go join a faction and spend 6 months grinding. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll get an opportunity, because it is a meritocracy. So how did you become leader?
Teutons.
Yeah.
Oh. So leader, a very, very goofy situation. This is when me and Pendragons, at some point we managed to get certain players into as Abbasid leader who were Pendragons. However, these people were more like placeholders rather than actual like people who wanted to lead the faction. So we get like people like Spaghetti who led the faction, and basically their hearts weren't in it. And at a certain point, I was like to Dylan, like, all this faction hopping we're doing, like, it's not going to work out. It's not worked out for us for like months. I think we should just join a faction and make it powerful. So I ended up going to Abbasids, and it like eventually like people realized that Spaghetti retired. We were looking for a new leader. We decided that Abdul should do it, who's another Pendragon, but Abdul didn't want to do it, so it came to me. And that's sort of how I became leader. It was more like a Pendragon hierarchy type of thing, more than it being like an all-round Abbasid position.
Why you then? Because my understanding is Dylan is the leader of the Pendragons.
Dylan is not necessarily always the most motivated person.
Wow. He's like some shots fired here.
It's like he
Friendly
understands
fire.
as well that like at the time Dylan was half retired. He drops in and out of the game sometimes depending on like if he is feeling it or if he's busy. When it comes to me, I feel like I've been like almost a cornerstone for just like how we've operated and how making sure that we've actually stayed active. So it kind of makes sense given the consistency of how I've been working on the game to put me as leader. That's pretty much why. Just basically they thought I was the best person for the job.
Interesting. Speaking of Dylan, he's been begging me for an interview.
Oh my god!
You know, something that does seem to get him active is ranking him lowly on a tier list. I feel like the ranking was fair. You know, if I hear about you as a leader, you're probably doing a good job because I'm pretty detached generally, but I'm more involved now. But that's not necessarily true because I barely even knew who Tarask was a few months ago.
I'd say back if you saw what Dylan was pulling off back in the day, you would probably ranked him higher.
He sent me a highlight video that was pretty impressive when he led England, and he was rallying a pretty high number of men back during the COE or KOE HRE alliance. Seemed to be like they were pretty successful. Now that we've kind of gotten a little bit of your background coming into Lionhearts, how have things been going as the Caliph of Abbasids lately?
Yeah,
you guys are obviously involved in it. I think you're the cornerstone of the SCA.
yeah, that's me. That is me. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we've been fighting for our core territories because problem with Abbasids is we've had a pretty long history of really bad leadership. So basically, Blackbird lost Nablus. I don't even know when we lost Alpha and Adera. And then we lost Earbid at like some point in the past, but obviously we got back Earbid without any issues. So we've just been declaring wars to get back our cores. And that war has lasted longer than I expected. But that's what we're doing currently. Initially, it was more of a more peaceful negotiation. We were trying to work with feds and be like, we'll help you out with so and so. We'll maybe even join you guys if you were going to, give us our cores back. One of the things we actually did was during Cyprus's war with the Seljuks, we joined with Cyprus and even declared a war against Seljuks to help them fight better and maybe be able to siege Seljuk's base. And now I kind of regret doing that because when it came to negotiation time and would you guys give us back our cores for helping out Cyprus, they just didn't. They refused. They offered us to buy that we could buy it for about 20 woods ingots and 200 folded ingots, which is an impossible sum. But yeah. So now we got to fight them and join with anti-feds and help them out. So
you tried to basically join the feds, and they declined you.
Well, it wasn't the issue of them declining us from joining. I think we could have managed to join. The issue was that even if we joined, they wouldn't give us back our cores, and we can't really work with people who are refusing to give us back core garrisons. I would still to this day be fighting Federation wars and doing their bidding without my cause, and that would make me pretty much a Federation puppet. And right, yeah.
So
I wouldn't do that.
Given your previous ties to Cyprus, what was your response to the drama with Saddam and the puppeting of Lettuce, now Psychic retaking over the faction? Because a lot of people were upset at Saddam, even allies.
Okay, so I actually had pretty good me and Lettuce got along quite well. I joined the war with Spaghetti not just to suck up to feds, though that was a primary reason. The reason why I chose Lettuce's war was because when we went to Cyprus, I was in Cyprus for quite some time. I got along with Lettuce, so I was like, let me join their war and help them out. Because of that, obviously, I don't like that Lettuce got puppeted. I don't think I don't think it was the right option to go for, because Lettuce has accepted peace deals in the past. I feel like puppeting can only really be reserved for people who are just really, really what's the word? Just not being reasonable and refusing to peace out no matter what. And in this game, there's no real way to stop somebody from not peacing out apart from doing things like puppeting and rebelling in their faction and doing this underhanded stuff.
Right.
I think what Subjects did was could have been necessary in taking down Feds, but in like winning their war, like that's a completely different thing.
Well, it did pretty much. Psychic is not pro-Fed, so as disastrous as some people think the move was, Saddam moved in, took over the faction, had a previous leader of the faction that was very loved in place, ready to take over, and at least loved internally, and simultaneously destroyed one of the core Federation members. So it's a pretty,
absolutely agree.
It's a pretty ruthless move, and I think maybe him having legacy status made him feel like, okay, I can do this. I don't feel like there's going to be repercussions for me. I don't think you can puppet a legacy status leader. I wrote the code, so I should know. Can't. Right. So it's pretty cunning, but also I think people feel like it was a low honor move.
I've spoken to like the anti-Feds about it, and I actually advocated for. Well, I didn't advocate for it before it was done because he didn't speak to us about it. But afterwards, with hindsight, I was like, yeah, that's an effective move for getting rid of Federation. I wouldn't say I agreed that lettuce was necessarily like the like lettuce wasn't necessary to do it to lettuce. But
well, let's be honest. Like Cyprus was probably the weakest member.
Yeah.
So and they were kind of being carried by the other members. Let's just be honest.
Yeah,
it's still gonna hurt.
I feel like maybe they should have directed some of it to the stronger factions that are actually holding it together. Because at the end of the day, like Teutons aren't crying over losing letters. They're making a big deal of it, but they're not crying. They don't really care too much. Like at the bottom line, they've still got an extremely strong faction holding it all down for them. So, but to be fair, as I said, I think it was a good move from Saddam.
Do you feel like the Federation's already disintegrated to a point with a higher emphasis on the SBA rather than Federation as a whole?
SBA, you mean? Well, it's all Teutons. Like Teuton, like they all do Teutons biddings. Like they're the people who hold it down. Maybe Templars have a bit more control over what they do because they are also quite strong. But as far as it was before, Cyprus, absolute Federation puppet previously, literally did anything they would ask. KOE, kind of less so. In my personal diplomacy with Enceladus, like they've been wanting to advocate for more of a 2v2 outside of the Federations and the anti-Feds. That's why we've been just doing like Abbas and Antioch versus KOE and KOJ. So maybe he's less of a Fed puppet. But ultimately, they're still gonna. If Teutons came over and are like, you need to declare war on so and so, they'd do it. Like,
so Tarask is really pulling the strings. It's, in your opinion, it's more of an empire than some coalition of equals.
100%.
So, as an anti-Fed, how strongly are you still convicted towards bringing the Federation down? Is it still your number one priority? We had a pretty big announcement yesterday. Valor Honoris, Antioch, previous anti-Fed, has said, I'm resigning from the anti-Fed war. I'm going to just stay into my own business in the Northern Levant.
Valorous and me are still working against KOE. And Valor, and he's still allied with me in the war, and Antioch's still helping out. It's just with the HRE war, they're not so keen on helping out because there may have been some arguments in the.
Looked like some drama there.
Yeah.
Have you been trying to act as a negotiator between Valor and Shadow Skull, because that's a pretty big loss for anti-Feds, and HRE. I don't know what the previous battles results are, but it's been a very back and forth conflict in Southern. It's not been decisive at all.
Well, I'd say it's Valor's choice. I'm not gonna play because the drama, I'll tell you what the drama was. It's just been petty scraps after petty scraps. I'm not going to play the intervener in this. If HRE can't manage its own personal diplomacy with Valor and like make him feel like basically like there was insults being thrown around by the 2IC of HRE. If Ali can't shut that down and Valor leaves over it, I'm not going to get involved to stop him. Valor's still helping me in my war. I can manage my diplomacy. I can manage my 2ICs.
Well,
it's got nothing to do with me.
You have your hands full with KOJ in England already. I mean, I think you guys are managing, but if that southern front gets opened, that's another huge factor to deal with. And now you're talking about loss of cores and potentially an assault on Baghdad. So I get that you're trying to be diplomatic, but wouldn't it be smart to act as a middleman and try to keep those two aligned?
So far, we've managed to. The KOE leader seems Enceladus seems very, very interested in keeping the war 2v2. And like, so far, it's been manageable as a 2v2, either like Jerusalem or Hosps helping them out. And then we get Antioch or Cyprus to help us out. That's been a manageable war. We haven't really seen us, like, all of our stuff being owned for more than one day.
Yeah.
And we've had them on the ropes at certain parts of the wall. I'm pretty sure if we let it play out the way it is, I don't think it will be possible to get a vassalization very easily, but maybe the rotations of the RBs and the times they're at will be in our favor at some point, and we'll be able to pull through. That's not to mean that I want to completely isolate the wars, but what it does mean is that they are already pretty isolated. So as long as they keep their side of the deal, and I have people who are willing to back me if they don't, then it should be fine. You get what I mean?
Who's waiting to back you? Central? Are you talking Zangids,
I'm talking Ayyubids, Seljuks, HRE. All of them would be willing to come in if Teutons and Templars tried to roll through to Baghdad.
Where are the Zangids right now? They've bottomed out in the power rankings. I know they're usually busy playing soccer, or football, as you might call it.
Oh, we need to integrate that game into our game more, honestly.
Because that was a pretty big thing 6 months ago, but they were pretty strong. And then I just checked the power rankings and they've dipped abysmally. And in a lot of areas you wouldn't want them to. And I haven't really seen them. Again, they used to be a pretty big presence in Central against the Teutons, but it just seems like they've been very passive lately. Is that accurate?
I would say that Zengids are kind of being pinned down a little bit. If you think about what like wars they would declare right now, it would just be against Teutons. And unfortunately, I don't think they have the power to do that. They're in an unfortunate position.
Their propaganda game used to be top notch. They used to have the best propaganda in the business. Maybe they need to start cooking that up again and getting some recruits.
I think Zengids are really chill. Like, so one of the things that actually happened recently with Irbid is we actually have a pact where we get to own Irbid, we give them the resources, and if any other faction tries to take Irbid, Zengids will like help us out and help us deal with it in a little way. And one of the things they did recently was we were like, okay, let's go take Irbid. We didn't go to speak to Zengids about it. We just go to Irbid to find that they've actually been clearing the guards, the whole RB, and waiting for us to come there and cap it, just to make it a bit easier for us. Like, basically, what I'm trying to say is that even though Zengids are in a kind of tough position and are maybe a little bit irrelevant in geopolitics, they're still quite cool. And like they've got like probably a quite good leader and just holding things down in the genre for them. And maybe one day like situations will change and stuff. But yeah.
Do you feel like we've heard a lot of opinions? I've talked to a lot of leaders. Do you feel like recruiting with paid access is impossible?
with paid access, well, I think paid access, what it did initially was it generated a lot of interest in the game, because when it was at 25 Robux,
Yeah.
people, I think, were like, oh, what's this game? It costs 25 Robux. It must be quite good. And then those people are more inclined to stay after to give it an actual try.
Yeah.
And because it was 25, it was actually quite a cheap entry to get in. I think when it was increased to like 400 or so, what was it, like 200 or 400?
395.
So 400. When it was increased to 395, it was just too much for people to actually give it the chance.
What about now? It's about 160 now.
I haven't actually attempted to recruit from the so the main method of recruitment, what it was when it was 25 Robux, was sitting in Jerusalem and just wait for people to spawn in. And we saw a lot of people before, but I haven't actually tried that recently. So I wouldn't say I'm the best
now they
judge.
start in Malta again.
Do they start in Malta again?
Yeah, so they have to go through the Malta storyline to get to Jerusalem. And we changed that because statistically Malta performs a lot better at retaining players than Jerusalem. So I know players are always frustrated when they can't just gobble up a fresh recruit right away. But when they go through Malta, I think Jerusalem's a little too overwhelming for new players. They have there's all this stuff going on. There's 1,000 embassies. There's 4 different directions to go. But that linear, there's a thing in game design called choice fatigue. So So actually, people think they want freedom and choices in a game, but the reality is, the more choices you give them, the more chances they just quit the game, because they would rather quit than make a choice, especially early on.
I think that's true. I agree with that. So would they just spawn in Jerusalem, having completed the story? I haven't done the story recently.
Well, there's Burning Malta, which is when the family dies and the city's on fire.
Oh, so who's spoiling? Look who's spoiling.
You already spoiled it. So after that, a little clunky right now. I want to change it, actually. They go to Sicily, and then in Sicily, he says, hey, go to Jerusalem, and then come back when you're ready. Because there's a couple story things in Jerusalem, in Sicily. So basically, after Malta, they're sent to Jerusalem. And we've actually had some bugs that have been quite catastrophic with that step. So we actually retain the players we track every step. We retain the players super well all the way through Malta, and then there were some teleport bugs on the map to get them to Jerusalem, and that was really costly, and it cost us for a while. And we've had some analytical anomalies, but right now our analytics have never been better. We found a really good spot with the analytics.
Has it actually been there's new players coming in, they spawn at Jerusalem, they're getting recruited, and everything's going to find them? Because I haven't been trying to recruit recently.
You would be better served asking fellow leaders than me about that, because
fair enough.
I don't see a ton of new players at Jerusalem, and the odds that one of them, the gross amount of players coming into the game is very low.
Oh, I'll tell you my experience of recruiting members. If your faction is a relevant faction in the politics of the game, you get people who join because they're interested in either helping your faction or because they just see that you're a relevant factor in the game.
Right.
And I feel because it's been harder to get new players, people have just been working with the players that exist. And so far, the best way to do that is just to stay relevant. And I found the best way to do that is just by declaring constant wars. So I'm just, I'm just resigning to my fate of being eternally at war at this point. And
sounds brutal. Interestingly, Saddam has a pretty base take on this, in my opinion. He's found some very wealthy in Roblox members who will go out and they'll headhunt people outside of the game, say, we'll buy your access, come join Selgics. And that's been one of the reasons he's had, for what I've seen, most the most success at recruiting lately, as far as getting a bunch of new people, because he's actually willing to go out and front the paid access price. And he actually told me, he said in DMs, he said all the leaders that have complained about recruiting or coping were doing great. So and that's a pretty sophisticated strategy, and maybe not everybody has that luxury. I certainly think it's still on us to try to get recruits into the game naturally for you guys. But what do you think about that strategy? Because eventually you will need recruits.
Well, we actually have a similar thing, at least in Pendragons, not in Abysses. Well, Abysses and Pendragons, sort of the same thing for now. And basically, we have the Pendragon treasury, and we just donate things into there. And whenever a new player comes along who needs the Robux, we put them in there, give them the stuff after 2 weeks pass, so they can play. And I get what Saddam's saying about how you can headhunt in other games. Generally speaking, I found that quite hard to do in certain genres, because people will be playing things like Napoleonic Warfares, or like sort of like other kinds of things, and it's just like they're like going to be committed to their game, kind of quite a lot.
Well,
already.
the 2 week requirement for payouts is and it was brutal for us. You know, we paid out everybody. I don't know if you were one of the people that just paid for it or requested the payout.
Oh, I just paid for it.
Yeah, so
it was 25 Robux.
We ended up paying out 700 people, but there's a bunch of people that didn't get paid out because they didn't understand how complicated it is. You have to join the group, you have to be in it 2 weeks, you have to do all this stuff. And it's just been a hassle. I do think we will be reducing the price again shortly, because what's happening is our all of our analytics are really good, but we have 5 new players a day.
I mean, my tactic was just like just insult people and call them poor for not being able to afford 25 Robux, and that got through to like quite a lot of them.
Yeah, no. I think there could be some. I'm not going to reduce it to 25 immediately because I still want to see if there's a more appropriate price point, and that's the whole point of what we've been doing. But I did think we had the most success at 25. It's hard to know if that was just existing players paying.
It was quite a lot of. So it may have been a bit of existing, but what I saw was quite a lot of people who used to play the game, but had quit. But then saw that it was paid access and were like, "Oh, what's this? What's going on here?" Then chimed back in to play again.
Well, yeah, despite the lack of new players, I know the concurrence on the game isn't super high, but the activity is. Like the game is not dead by any means as far as Lionhearts standards.
Yeah. So the 24-hour RBs, I'm sorry, I have to talk about that.
Oh, go ahead.
That ruined me. Holy moly. Like,
even you as a constant warlord, that wasn't.
It was torture. Like, I was out. It felt like a desk job, except not 9 to 5. I'm on all day, right. And then I clock in and then I clock out at the end of the day, and I do whatever responsibilities I can get done.
Oh my god!
Apart from that, it's just. That was hell. I don't know why that got added.
Well, I've explained that in previous interviews, and obviously it wasn't the right decision to make. I do appreciate some of the additions we've made since, and we even have more changes. Changes that were through that to try to make that work, and then some more changes coming soon that. I posted in the leader chat, so you probably know about them, but stuff like that. What are your thoughts on the new contribution changes and anti-free ranking?
Oh, I like the anti-free ranking, but there are some things wrong with the contribution change, like how much contribution I can give someone. It being, I think, in my opinion, too low. Like 50 is 2 kills, and that is only like as you said, a good amount of kills for an arsenical LR who can only scrape in 2 kills barely.
Is it really? So should the amount per kills be nerfed? Because, and I know that sounds silly, but the question on the economy of the contribution is, it's just like experience. So we went and we reset, because that's the thing. If there's too much contribution coming from one area and not the other is meaningless. So we could just increase the amount you can give, but would that actually solve the issue? Because are the base contribution values actually at the right number?
Well, for okay, so yeah, I'm getting spam DMs, people saying, "Do not let him do this. Don't let him cook."
I can't help myself.
So, okay, for contribution, getting LR, I think on an average faction is 2,500. So that's the first LR rank, and then from there it goes up to 30,000. So to get to HR, you've got to get. If I was to get a calculator out on sec,
and you have them set to the minimum requirements.
It would take you 1,500 kills with the current thing, and that's for a fresh person getting into the game. You've got to get your sets, you've got to get good gear, and it's going to take a lot of work. I haven't gotten 30,000 contribution in Abyssids yet, and I'm an absolute goat of PvP.
Right. So what number do you think would be appropriate to give people per 3 hours?
Per 3 hours, I think you should allow us to give at the very least 200, because that's 10 kills.
200?
If that would be to get the first LR rank, I would need to do that 12 times. And if the problem is free ranking, the amount of contribution
you have to do that 12 times. I thought the first rank was 100 contribution.
No, maybe I'm thinking about the second rank. But from what I've seen, generally one of the first ranks you can get is 2,500.
And what about the level requirements? Do those seem fine?
The level requirements I think are fine. It encourages grinding. If you want to be a better rank, you should grind. That's just how the game is.
So you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree that I 100% agree that in order to progress your prestige in the game and the prestige of having a high rank, you should have to work for it. Yeah, you shouldn't just get that for free. That's why I agree. That's why when you asked me if I agree with the update, I think it's a good update. I just think there's certain things that could be fixed about it.
Okay. So overall, you think not free ranking is better for the game than free ranking?
Yeah.
And you feel that way, why?
I think free ranks are generally not a smart thing to do, especially with the current way the game is. If a person comes to my faction and is I'm gonna do all of this for you, and I free rank him HR, and he rebels in my faction, then I'm an idiot. Right. I'll do for trusting him. I think, generally speaking, you shouldn't free rank people unless you really, really trust them, and really, really trustworthy people are really hard to come by. So, because of that, I agree with the update. I don't think free ranks, apart from that, have much wrong with them. Maybe it's unjust to the people in your faction who are working hard. But at the end of the day, if somebody's worth more, if someone's a better asset to you, you're gonna at least treat them better than the other people of their rank. That's just how it is. So even if somebody's an MR, I'd still treat them like a HR if they're coming to me with HR skills.
Do you think the game is better with more loyalty to factions rather than switching around constantly?
Yeah, I also agree with that.
I mean, it's what I think now, Pops, for example, he's your second in command, I think, or third in command. If he was to leave Abyssids to join Zengids, that's a pretty huge decision for him. Right? And they're the barrier to before, and this is just a total example, right? maybe Zang could say, "Hey, we want to get activity again. We need like somebody who's really talented. Fops will pay you, 30,000 gold, something like that to come switch over." Now, Fops may think, okay, this is an enticing offer, but he knows, okay, I'm giving up my title. In a future update, he's going to be giving up his weekly wage because weekly wages are going to be set per rank. So you're going to have the ability to set your second in command's ranks weekly wage way higher, which is also going to disincentivize faction hopping. And so for him, he still has the freedom to do it, but he's going to have to do a lot of work to earn that high rank position in Zangits.
Yeah. But he would still be treated like a HR or whatever rank they would want him to be in the future.
So what's your point on that?
My point is that, like, regardless of if you limit how fast people can get ranked in game, there's still, if I was to go to, let's say, KOE, and I was to start running a bunch of events like I would, and I would start to make their faction better, they wouldn't treat me like a LR, even if I'm an LR in game. They still treat me like a HR. And even if, like, eventually even if the game slows me down from becoming a HR in game, I would still have all the rights of a HR, just without the ability to, like, revolt, like, or having a uniform.
Well, but that's why the weekly pay per rank is actually pretty impactful, because right now ranks are kind of ceremonial. As far as, I mean, you have the ability to revolt at high rank, and leaders obviously have extra diplomacy permissions. But right now, because weekly wages are set for everybody, it doesn't make any sense that a general would make the same as a grunt.
No,
right?
It's communism.
Right.
It's
yeah,
good.
Exactly. We don't like that. So that change, I think, actually eliminates partially your problem. Like, yeah, okay, maybe they treat you like a high rank, but you still don't get paid like one, and you don't have the title, and so there's still, I feel like people are still going to want to rank up.
Yeah, they'll want to rank up to get higher wages. I agree.
Okay, good. By the way, so this conversation's in good faith, I just increased the contribution from 50 to 200.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And
great.
Base matchmaking contribution from 15 to 30.
Wow, that's good.
Because I do think it should be in your guys' hands. The reason it was so low is I just don't want... if it's too high, then it's just free ranking again.
It's kind of... Because I understand why you wouldn't want it to be like 2,000 or like 10k or just something ridiculous.
Right.
But even with 200, it would still take like at least about 100 or so of me giving somebody contribution. If you turn up to 100 rallies, you've kind of been slowed down by the system enough at that point. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, you really wanted to, you could log on every 3 hours and meet them in game and speed that up. But that's obviously people aren't going to.
Ain't nobody doing that.
No.
No one's doing that.
No. So I feel like it's a pretty good way to do it. And that's why I have these conversations, so I can get feedback, because when you think about how something's going to work, obviously it's different than how it's going to actually be in practice.
Yeah.
Like communism.
Perfect.
Yes.
In every way.
So what are your... You've said your plans. You're just going to keep declaring war. You're not concerned with recruiting that much externally. Given some of these other changes, do you think the game would benefit from... I'm sure you've reviewed the changes to Hectorates coming.
Oh yeah, that definitely does make it so individual faction strength is more important and less diplomacy is important. I think it certainly hurts anti-feds.
Yeah,
because individually speaking, some of us aren't that strong, including me probably. But it's still, it definitely makes massive coalitions harder to actually function. But I think it's a good update, in all honesty.
Well, do you agree that constant coalition war does lead to burnout?
I agree. Like big mega wars. I've been against it. That's the main one of the partial reasons I've been against feds for a long time. Is not just because of like the geo, like I want my cause. It's actually more because of the mega alliances. I generally don't like them.
Yeah.
Like even if it wasn't for like the cause, I would still be like, I think feds is a bit cringe because it forces me to have World War V every single time a minor thing happens. Like, I don't like it,
Right.
which is why I'm kind of happy that we're able to keep the KOE Abbasid War to a 2v2. Like
it seems like those are pretty functional.
Yeah,
it is back and forth, but
whenever we're out on RB and it's just like the two sides and it's not like Hatchery and Templars fighting on the other side of the world, like our RBs are way less laggy, our sieges are way less laggy. Like maybe that's just because both of our factions have less numbers than the other guys, but like it's just been a better experience.
The performance is another good point. I definitely think I appreciate that point. Well, what are your final thoughts for your Dragoons?
My Dragoons.
Yes, your Dragoons.
So, is that Pendragons? Or
Yeah, your Dragons.
Oh, well, gotta keep it strong, lads. Dylan the Pendragon, he's watching. He wants us to do our best. Dylan the Red Welsh Dragon, he wants us to win. So that's what I want us to keep on thinking about in this next couple of weeks. And keep on trying our best.
Truly an inspiration. Hey, I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
Everybody, let's give a
interview Dylan.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see about that. I'm going to give a big round of applause here to Play. Thank you very much. We will be right back. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe below. If not, leave a dislike and tell us why this content could be improved in the comments below. We'll see you guys in the next one.